welcome to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danica Foley. Along with me, we have Ruby Maize, who is the co-founder of the Juneteenth Bike Ride and Celebration. Now, technically, this is, I guess, your third year, but I guess we had to go by paper. It's really your second year putting on the function, the Juneteenth Bike Ride. Well, first and foremost, let's talk about how it all started. Why did you decide to hit the bikes and travel around Morgan City?
Thanks, Danica. We started pre-pandemic. We had a nighttime bike ride, and we had so much fun, so we decided we would do it again the next year. The following year, there was a pandemic, and I think we did it in 2021 was the first year we celebrated Juneteenth. But we decided we would highlight some of the Black or African-American owned businesses and just talk about the history of them and just have fun and invite the family, invite children, and invite everyone that wants to participate.
I will say that I was on that bike ride, actually both of them, and I think the first time that you went live, you garnered so much interest of people in this community and outside the community that people who knew of Morgan City, they were astonished to find so many businesses owned by African Americans, and not just small little businesses, but prominent businesses. I mean, was that what your whole goal was to just inform and educate?
It was on the second bike ride. We were fortunate to have Reverend Ron Baez on the first bike ride. That was nighttime, and it was so much history that he was knowledgeable of that we decided we need to broaden it and make this available to everyone.
Yeah. Now, of course, we have you entitled as the co-founder. So when you're a co, there's another person that helped you. Who is that person? And I guess when you guys put your heads together, I'm assuming this is how pretty much Juneteenth Bike Ride came along. Tell me more about that person, that individual.
Patrina Coulon, she was very helpful in starting the bike ride and getting people out there to ride, and we just had fun from there, and we just started planning.
Yeah. And I know you're known in the community, but I can definitely tell you, I know you as a walker. You walk.
Yes.
Every time I would see you, you either walk near the high school, going towards the lake. I've seen you just about everywhere walking. Were you comfortable getting on the bike?
Yes, I enjoy it, but I'd rather walk.
Yeah, you'd rather walk?
I'd rather walk, yes.
Well, and look, there are individuals who say that I would rather sit down. I don't want to get on the bike. And it is a bike ride, but is it a bike ride the entire event?
No, that's not how it's going to go. We have encouraged people, if they can't ride, that they can meet at the different locales, and that also we have a program afterwards on the Jimmy Johnson Memorial Park where we'll meet, have a speaker, and just talk about some of the history in Morgan City.
Now, speaking of those locations, because there are 6 historical markers that you'll be going to. Technically, there's 7, but kind of let's go through each of those locations. We can give that out to the individuals right now, because I think I was trying to hold on to it as a surprise, but there's so much history throughout Morgan City. I think it's only fair to let folks that know, if you come out, you'll learn more about these places. So let's go through the list of places.
Okay. Well, we're going to start at Jackett School and Park in the pool area, and at that location, that was predominantly a black school and a black pool. So it was dismantled some time ago, but the area is still there. The second location would be McElroy Funeral Home. And it's located on Lawrence Street in Clingsville. We also have the third location, which would be Ham Playground in the Clark Hotel, which is located on Bowman Street. Mrs. Janetta Trimble's preschool, located on Federal Avenue. It's no longer there, but the home is still there. Also, Morgan City Colored High School, I think it's located somewhere back of town off of Everett and Everett Street in that area. And the last location will be Dr. Edward Jackett's medical office on Greenwood Street.
So you mentioned just really a lot of names. So
yes.
You mentioned, because I'm assuming some of these places didn't have it wasn't a Days Inn. It wasn't a Hampton hotel. So they probably went by the first name of the individuals who owned it. Has the family been contacted? Are they aware that members of their families, those who have probably gone on, are being honored, or their businesses are being honored? We
have a few that are aware of it, but we'd like to encourage, if anyone knows of someone like the McElroy Funeral Home or Ms. Janetta Trimble, or a family member, or Ham Park, or the hotel, that they get in touch with me so we can make them aware of what's going on, how we're going to honor these locations, and they may have some history that they can share with us as well. Now, when you say honor, what happens at each of these markers? What's the plan? At each marker, we're going to have a speaker that is going to talk about the location and maybe the date and when it was available and what happened and where it's located now, and just talk about that person and what they did in the community. Okay.
What has been the response from the community, especially your last year? Because you said in that you had the pandemic, so 1 year you didn't do it, and you had to hold off. But what happened last year? What was the response?
In 2021, we had a good response. We had elected officials. We also had children, other people that came and rode bikes. We had a few people that rode in cars. Some of the locations we hit was Sumter Williams High School, where Miss Juanita Lagarde, she spoke. Delco's Cleaners, Skinner's Barbershop with Isaiah Skinner. He spoke about his business and how he started. Ruffin's Barbershop, he's no longer there. Rita Mae's Kitchen with Kathy Landry, she spoke. And Jones Funeral Home, owned by Byron Jones.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take a short break, but come on back, because there are a couple of legal things we got to talk about before we actually hit the road and the bike ride. So come on back right here on The Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to The Voice of the Coast. Again, I'm your host, Danica Foley. Along with me, we have Ruby Maize, who is the co-founder of the Juneteenth Bike Ride and Celebration. Now, everyone, if they always say, it's just like riding the bike. Pretty easy, right? And it is pretty easy. However, we got to talk about the legal issues. I mean, you can get on the bike, but you guys are kind of organized as an organization. Mm-hmm. You have to have waivers. Tell me about the waivers.
That's correct. We have a waiver that everyone that participates needs to sign. If you're 16 years and under, you'd have to have an adult sign and adult ride with you.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about 16 and under, the kids.
Mm-hmm.
16-year-olds will probably say, I'm not a kid, but that's a kid, right?
Yes.
Especially by law. The first time you did it, I think we had about two, young kids under the age of possibly 10 that participated. The next year, we had about maybe 6 or 7 that were involved. What do you expect this year? Do you think it'll grow? I mean, it's so hard sometimes to get the young kids. I remember hearing that when I was young, getting the young kids involved.
I think it will. We're going to encourage children and families to participate. We want to see everyone come out. We're going to have the program under the bridge at the Memorial Park, where we have food and refreshments, and a dynamic speaker with Reverend Ron Bias.
Now, I know this is a Juneteenth and it's honoring African-American Black business owners and businesses, but who's invited to this event?
Everyone is invited, young and old. Bring your chairs, come out and sit. We have limited seating, so if you'd like to bring a lawn chair and sit, you're welcome to do so.
Okay. So it starts at 8 o'clock. Let's
Correct.
just kind of put that out there again. It's going to start at E.F. Jacquet Elementary School. I got the full name of it, and a lot of folks who are unfamiliar, believe it or not, I talked to an 80-year-old woman who did not know we had an art gallery in the city. So I'm just letting you know, E.F. Jacquet School, and that is in the Cleansville area. You start there and going to end at Jimmy Johnson Memorial Park, which is actually right next door to KWBJ, right on Greenwood Street. I'm sure the history is going to be phenomenal. I think the second year when you went live, it garnered so much, just interest from everybody in the community. Folks who have lived here all their lives, folks who maybe even visited the area. But Morgan City is so small.
Yes.
And you're on your 3rd year. Do you think there's much more to learn about African American history in Morgan City?
There's a lot more, a lot I'm still learning. So I'll just welcome the history and welcome the people that can provide it with us.
Yeah. I mean, you're very calm right now. I mean, how does this make you feel that you have this community bike ride?
I'm excited. I think it's going to be big this year. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it, and it wouldn't be possible without all the people that we have working. Yourself, Courtney Long, Sandra Green, Reverend Ron Bias, part of our committee that's trying to put this all together. And if anyone else out there would like to participate or sponsor us in some type of way, just give me a call.
And we need that number.
985-498-0420.
All right, one more time.
985-498-0420. My name is Ruby Maize.
Okay. We definitely have the guest speaker you just mentioned, Pastor Brian Bias, is going to be here to talk more about this. Why did you choose him?
He's knowledgeable. He's the one that started this 3 years ago when we went on the night bike ride, and he brought us to different locations across the track, Cold Shoe, and different areas, and just pointed out different places and told us the history about it. So he's aware of a lot of things that's going on in Morgan City.
You said something. You said it was a night ride.
Yes.
So it would start off as a night ride, and then it became a morning. Why did you change the time?
We wanted more participation, especially young children, so they can learn.
Now, will you have, I guess, an escort, or, I mean, how does this work? I mean, I think last year you did actually have two council members
Yes, we had
participate.
two or maybe three.
Two or
It was
three,
the mayor and the two council members.
Okay, that's right.
And as well as a police escort.
Yeah. So there will be an escort throughout the
Yes.
city. How long do you foresee the bike ride being, and is it strenuous?
No, it's not. It's a short ride. We're going to take 6 stops, so I don't think it'll be bad at all. So I would think within an hour we should be done.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And look, I point that number out again. Give us the number.
985-498-0420.
And I'm looking at your shirt, Juneteenth Community Bike Ride.
Yes.
This was a shirt from last year.
Correct.
So is there an attire? What should they wear?
Whatever is comfortable to you. No attire at all.
All right, thank you very much. Come on back. We've got much more of Voice of the Coast to come. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danica Foley. Along with me, we have Pastor Ron Bias, who is in this seat as the guest speaker for the Juneteenth Bike Ride and Celebration, which is coming up June 18th. However, you wear many hats, and one of those hats is that you are a councilman for the city of Morgan City.
Yes.
And I just want to ask you, being a part of this Juneteenth committee, you know, and also as someone who is a public official, this just became a national holiday last year, I believe, if not 2 years ago. But if we know, let's talk about the history of Juneteenth before I get to that question. Tell us a little bit about the backstory of the event, the holiday, how we all got here today.
January 1st, 1863, President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which eradicated institution of slavery in the United States of America. But it wasn't until June 17, 1865, when General Gordon Granger went to Galveston Island with the Union Army and let those that were yet enslaved know that the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed, and therefore the Juneteenth Day was born. It was mostly celebrated in Texas, and then it began to migrate out into the other states in the United States. On June 17, 2021, President Joe Biden made it a national holiday.
Now, let's talk about that date, 1865, right, 2021. Again, as someone who is, you know, a public official, how does that make you feel that 2021, it became a national holiday?
I think it was long overdue, but I think that it was something that needed to be done so that we could have a reference, per se, to the fact that Juneteenth is American history, though it deals with a dark part of American history, which is slavery, but yet and still it's American history. America is a melting pot of different nationalities, and we need to know our history in order to know where we are going. If we don't know where we come from, then it's hard to know where we are going. So I believe that Juneteenth is a marker that we can use to kind of revive African American history in America. It's pertinent that we know the story. That's what his story is our story.
I was just about to ask you, you kind of answered. I was going to ask you, because, you know, on this show, I do tell people, you know, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you got to, you know, put both sides out there. And there are folks who still say it was a dark history, dark moment in history. Why are we still talking about it? And what do you say to those people who say that?
Because even in dark moments, you had good things came out of it. And that's what we're talking about today, and I think Ms. Maize just referenced some of it when she was here earlier, is that you have African-American entrepreneurs that people in Morgan City don't even know about. The political arena, let me set the record straight right quick. We always talk about the councilman before me was the first African-American councilman. That's incorrect. Mr. Joshua Thomas was the first African-American city councilman in the city of Morgan City doing Reconstruction. and he became appointed mayor for a brief period of time. So in actuality, the councilman before me was the second, and that makes me the third. So those are the kind of things that we need to set the record straight on.
How do you know so much of this history? And we talked about it a little bit before this, but how do you know so much, being a young man yourself?
Listening to my elders in the barbershops on Friday evenings and on Saturday mornings. You could not get in the conversation with the old folk because you were not allowed to, but you could hear what they had to say. And often on Saturday morning, they sat down and they told the stories, and I listened and I retained them. So we need to just keep passing the story on, and we need to let them know that, you know, Morgan City is a part of this history. It's a part of a history, the story that needs to be told.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We've got a little more time to go, so we're going to use that time wisely. I could just hear you all the time and just get more information about what's going on in Morgan City. As a transplant, I find it pretty interesting. So come on back right here on The Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to The Voice of the Coast. We're going to talk really fast. I have Pastor Ron Bias. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Juneteenth Bike Ride and celebration. The first year you did this, you just jumped in and became kind of like the tour guide that we didn't know we needed. And it was like a 2.5-hour bike ride. We've kind of scaled it back and maybe about an hour, hour and a half. But you're now serving as the guest speaker. Will you be on the bike ride?
Yes, I'll be on the bike ride, and I'll be happy to be on the bike ride. I'm also going to bring a couple of my grandchildren to ride along, and like Ms. Maize before me, we're encouraging all of the young people to ride along, because it's important that they hear and that they see and that they learn. Let me hurry and say this. Let me thank KWBJ, and let me thank you, Ms. Foley Long, for showing interest in an integral part of history. The Juneteenth Day celebration is celebrated in many different ways. Some people have picnics, some people have family gatherings, some people just don't do anything at all. But it's still a national holiday, and it needs to be recognized as such. I think there need to be discussions. I'm going to talk about local government, parish on down to the city, where we sit down and we discuss, you know, what kind of committees we can put together, because there's a lot of history, rich history, walking history, books people have at their houses, both black and white, that can be a part of this to bring to the surface how important it is to know the story.
Well, and speaking of which, you did mention something that is quite important, I think, to mention. You said black and white. Who's invited? I mean, is this just for, you know, African Americans to learn more about their history?
If this makes sense, it's about African Americans, but everybody is invited to come and see what it's about. We have all kinds of festivals in the city, so we go to those, and we just want everybody to come out. You don't have to be black, you can just be a citizen. You don't have to be a citizen of Morgan City. You can just come, see what it's about, listen. You can even participate if you want to. You can be a part of the committee if you want to. We're not turning anybody away. We just want to make sure that this is a success. And not only is going to go on for a couple of years, but that it'll be something that'll become a part of the infrastructure of Morgan City when it comes to celebrations and holidays.
And I want to just reiterate also those locations, because we really want the families to get involved. You do know so many people, like you probably could reach out to everybody that's involved with the mile marker or with the historical markers. But let me go through that first, and we'll discuss that. Okay. So we have Jacket Elementary School, we have McElroy Funeral Home, Ham Playground, which is on Bowman Street, and also the Clark Hotel, again, on Bowman Street. They're actually right next door to each other. Ms. Janetta Trimble, who had the preschool, and from what I understand, like everybody, especially if you're, I don't know, 50 and under, you went through Ms. Janetta's preschool or nursery. Then, of course, the Morgan City Colored High School or Colored School, and then Dr. Edward Jaquette Medical Office. We've mentioned him twice so far. I mean, obviously, he was a very integral part of this community. Right. Can you tell me just a little bit about him? Because I don't want to say too much.
He was the black doctor, if I can use that phrase, that took care African American patients, mostly here in Morgan City. And I think his office, where his office used to be, is going to be one of the mile markers, and I'll let the people that's going to reiterate on that do that. But he was a pillar of the community, quote unquote, and he did a lot of things in this community for medicine and education.
All right, I have just about 30 seconds. I asked you, getting the family members involved with all the individuals that I mentioned. Are these people still around? Are their families around?
If they are, it would probably be more of the younger people than the elderly people, but yes, a lot of them are still around, and hopefully we can talk to them and they have some of this history that we can garner from them.
All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining us, and make sure to subscribe to us on Facebook. See you guys next time.